Welcome, Badass Manifester. I am so glad you are here. I'm your host and head coach, Ashley Gordon, master mindset and manifestation biz expert, founder of the Quantum Coaching Certification, and multiple six-figure entrepreneur obsessed with empowering you to create quantum leaps in your energy, your life, and your business. This is the show to help you make magic your everyday normal, where the ripple effect is real and the guest experts are world class. My mission is to power your conscious and subconscious mind with manifestation teachings, business tools, and coaching techniques to put your potential into action. Consider this your weekly up level. Are you ready for quantum transformation? Let's do this. Badass manifestors, are you ready to learn about biohacking? I know that this word has been thrown around for a while, and I remember thinking to myself a few years ago even, just like, what the fuck even is biohacking? I didn't understand it, but now I do. I'm so excited because when we get podcast inquiries, my team presents them to me, and I feel into each person, and I see if they're the right fit. And my team presented this beautiful soul, Pavel, and I felt into his pitch, and it was all about biohacking. And I was like, wow, this is such a perfect puzzle piece for the series that I want to do with all of you, which is all about up-leveling your health and vitality and taking care of your body, because through your body, that is your number one vehicle for manifesting your dream life. And so I'm so excited about this episode because he is amazing. Like, Pavel is amazing. You are going to learn so much about free things that you could do to biohack. You're going to learn about some of the things that have helped him heal from chronic illness, from chronic fatigue syndrome, Epstein-Barr, other things that had been going on for him, things that you can invest in for biohacking. And after the conversation, we had a chat because on his website, he has so many things for biohacking. And I was like, I'm really interested in what you have to offer. And he shared with me his like 3 favorite things that I should look into getting. And one of them is the Key Shield, which is all about, we talk a lot about radiation in this episode and how to protect yourself from radiation and how to look up if you live in an area that's highly populated with 5G towers and radiation that's coming in at you that can affect you. It can affect your brain. It can affect your vitality, your energy, all of that. So his recommendation was the portable QI shield. And I'm holding it right now in my hand. It's truly such a beautiful thing to have on your desk, but it actually transforms the energy in the space. It takes any radiation, any Wi-Fi, any EMF, it's EMF protection, any EMF, and it reformulates the energy to be better for you. And I have been working with this on my desk for probably the last 3 weeks, and I feel so much better and so much clearer when I'm working. I don't feel as drained from being on the computer. So I highly, highly recommend this device. I will link it in the show notes as well for you to get your hands on it, to learn more about it. It is an investment, but I promise you it's well worth it. And the other things that I've been using of his are the AO wearable. The AO wearable is such a cool device. It is a wearable where you put it, it looks like glasses, but it emits this blue light. And it's not like the blue light from the computer. It's like actual blue light that you want to put your brain into. And it's all about boosting your energy, sleeping better, embracing wellness. It's all about your circadian rhythm. So it helps you really balance your circadian health. It is really cool. I just wear it for 20 minutes a day. And there's this amazing app, and it will tell you what your peak time is in the morning, what time you should be going to bed, what time's best to wear the device. It is fucking amazing and so cool. And I've been enjoying it. I keep it on my desk. I just put it on and I just feel like I'm doing something good for myself. And so far, the first day that I ever used it, I felt like, oh my God, I have so much more energy. So this device is also investment, lower price point than the Key Shield, and it's a completely different thing. I have a link to that in the show notes as well if you're interested. And then I have another thing that I got from him that is a visor, which I haven't even opened yet. So I'm just taking my time with like one thing at a time and integrating these things into my life, into my schedule. But I just want to share about these things because there are biohacking devices that will help your overall energy and just your overall health, your health line, right? People talk about, and I don't know, I can't remember where I heard this, whether it was from Ginger DeClue or Pavel or someone else, but I think it was at the mastermind event that I was at. This doctor was saying like people talk a lot about their lifespan, right? It's like all about lifespan, but what about your health span? And that really hit me like, okay, you could live a long time, but you could be sick and not feel well and not be optimized. And then there's your health span, like how many years you're healthy and vital and feeling good and enjoying your life, right? Because what's the point of being here if we can't fully enjoy our life? So that's really what hits home with me about this work and this episode and this series that I'm doing here is that I want to encourage you to like live life to the fullest. And a big part of that is manifesting through your body and optimizing your health and your health span as much as possible. So I am so excited for you to listen to Pavel's episode. He's truly amazing, and I know you're going to love him. And as soon as he comes to the East Coast for an event, I will be there. So please join me. Okay, without further ado, enjoy this episode on biohacking. Tell me everything about biohacking. Right now. I want to know it in 1 minute. Download it into my brain, please.
Well, it's very interesting because biohacking is such a complex term. But what I'm starting to learn more and more in life is that the most important biohack is to unhack everything you've ever known about any tool and come back into who you are, come back into the true inner guidance that for so long we have left apart. And we tend to seek all of these things on the outside world, but yet everything wraps around the inside or the inner world. And it's such a I spent 10 15 years of traveling the world, learning about all these biohacks and learning about all these tools, spending countless amount of money on all of these different procedures and ways to hack myself or heal myself. And yet, I go into, actually, I can give you a quick story. I go into a dark room every year. And so I spend 10 days in darkness with no food. Every single year because it's been my just way to come back to who I am. And every time I go in there, I'm like, why am I using all of this? Like, is this really what we need? And can we produce that through meditation, through silence, through connecting to the internet, not internet.
Oh, I love that. Oh my gosh. Okay. This is kind of flipping the script on everything. Everything that I know to be true about biohacking. Okay. And why isn't it called biohealing? You make a great point.
Yeah, so maybe now I'll give you like the actual term biohacking. What it really, means, there's so many people have a misconception, right, of it, that it's cheating or hacking. And, it comes from really from bodybuilders originally, or athletes, because any athlete that is, really involved in personal data, working towards something, right? Like increasing VO2, our performance capacities, or any ultra marathons or swimmers, right? They're all really in the business of pushing the limits, right? Physical limits. But without the data, without the tracking, without the science, they can only get so far. And so that's really what biohacking is, from the inside outside, meaning you biohack the health of your body, your mind, your emotions. I also like to call spirit hacking, or your spirit, because that's ultimately, we are all energy. And then you also hack the environment around you, meaning the air, the water, the food, the quality of the outside environment, also through relationships. And essentially, when you start looking into all of these different buckets, you look at what we know about it, you look at what your body actually needs based on the data, then you're starting to biohack your way into, bringing that power back to your hands. So long story short, that's kind of basically that like the whole world of biohacking. but it's gotten a bit too far to me right now with the amount of gadgets, with the amount of need for supplements, with the amount of,
Yeah.
external support. And so I'm here to tell you, you don't need any of it. And if there's, simple biohacks you can take, go outside on the sun, go and earth yourself, use breath work, meditate, take time in a stillness and silence, listen to your favorite music. How often your heart can just sing and lose yourself in timelessness when you go back into art or sound, dance. And so that's really what I like to cultivate in today's world, is this empowerment, what's inside of me, not outside.
It really does simplify it, because I look at the world of biohacking, and there's a part of me that looks out there and I'm like, I need that. I want that. I need that. I need that. I need that. I need that. It's like I'm missing something that's like not optimizing myself in the way that I want to, and the way that I want to expand my energy and like be in my most vital state. But you're really bringing it home to like, actually, we don't need any of that. We have everything that we need truly to heal, biohack our way into the state that we want to feel.
Yeah. And also, and this is the dichotomy. And so this is kind of where the dance of life comes in, because there is a certain period of times that we do need a certain, diet, a certain
Sure.
supplement, right? But what I think is been happening is this religious belief, right? Mental belief, not even like the true belief from within, where our mind, I call it the spiritual ego, the spiritual illusionist. It's the highest level of ego that we can all obtain. And what that is that our ego gets so smart, we get so obsessed by the data, by how much we read, and by the analytical, that then we justify and over explain everything why we should use that. And
Mm.
so, for me, that's as simple as coffee, as simple as, daily addictions that we bring into a regimented ways. And I again think we should unhack that, unhook from the need and demand, because my questions always are, does it own me or do I own it? Does it limit
Ooh.
me or does it bring me a limitless information? And if I can't tell what to do, I ask, what would love do now? And so really it's through the questions we can start realizing, which one of these gadgets is good for us. Asking is like, is this going to benefit me today? But not because of science says so, but because my dear body, right? Like bringing love back to ourselves.
That's so powerful and so true. I think going within and knowing intuitively what works for you, instead of seeing it online, where I might go to your page and be like, oh my God, Pavel's doing this amazing biohack. Like, I want to try that. And actually, like, I don't know anything about it. I don't know if it's right for me. I don't know if it's what I need, you know? Yeah. What would you say has been, I think I feel like I know what you're going to answer, but what has been the most, okay, let me ask it this way. What has been the most powerful biohack for you that you have that's been free and like you don't need something outside of yourself?
Yeah, so honestly, it's breath work.
Okay.
There's nothing more potent, powerful, and mind bending than deep breathing exercises. And so this is why, for me, about 7 or 8 years ago, I went into the Wim Hof excursion in Poland,
Yeah.
and I walked in there mildly sick, and I walked out of there healthy, even though I went through this brutal, cold immersion every single day. And one thing that stuck with me was this deep breathing exercises that we kept on doing. And it stuck with me so much so that I literally, ended up getting certified, learning all of these other modalities of breath work, because I always say this: breath is what you're born with, but
Mhm.
also breath is what we die with. But what we do between the first breath and last breath is what determines the quality, the awareness of every single moment. Now, each and every moment is like a biofeedback that gives us an opportunity to exchange gifts, to learn about one another, to learn from one another. And when we start seeing things as a gift exchange instead of, what's happening to me and the different, issues that we might perceive, then all of a sudden, every moment becomes a choice. Are you going to give the power out to the external, which is you get unconscious of your breath, you tense up most of the times. And then, as you can see, we live in a chronic fight or flight state as a mankind, not because of being chased by a tiger, but because of, notifications, because of giving our energy out to the external. Now, if we want to keep it in the conscious mind, aka we bring the power and awareness back to our breath in every moment of our life, which the gold standard, by the way, is a 6-second inhale, 6 seconds exhale, in and out your nose all the time. Whenever you're not doing any deep, breathing exercises. And the reason why it's been validated by science that it increases your heart rate variability, it lowers down your stress, and it brings more heart-brain coherence into every moment of your life. So even right now, as you're listening, see if you can.
Let's do it. Let's do it right now. Ready? Cue it.
Yes, and so see if you can just observe your slow, subtle inhale in through your nose, and slow, subtle exhale out your nose. And whatever you're driving, listening, talking, see if you can come back to this breath as frequently as possible. Now, the other part I like to add to this is body awareness. And so ask yourself, where am I? Where am I? And I like to ask this all the time whenever I lose the sight of where I am. Because if you're anywhere, on your phones, on your computers, in the past, in the future, we always live somewhere else, but right here in the temple that we are. And so I always like to bring all of that awareness back to my body. So you continue focusing on the breath. The second tool is you relax into the moment. So most of us hold so much attention in shoulders, in our gut. And so a little exercise, maybe we can do it too, is you can rub your hands together. And you rub them so much so that you feel this little burning sensation. And once you feel this burning sensation, just continue breathing 6 seconds in, 6 seconds.
Keep them together or open them?
You can open them. You can just put them down. And now just tune into that little vibration, that little tingling sensation, vitality, whatever you label it. Just breathe in for 6 through your hands and out for 6 of your hands. Now, let's go on this little game of awareness and imagine that you feel the same sensation in your arms and also your hands. Now, sense how where intention goes, your energy flows. So just like your intention goes into your phone or computer, can you put all your attention on your breath, on your hands, arms, your head? Relax all of your facial expression, all of the demands of how do I look, how do I need to look, where do I go? Relax your shoulders. And now that same feeling you felt in your hands, I want you to feel it in your whole body. As if you had these champagne-like bubbles bubbling up around your body, around the pores of your skin. And next time that you inhale for 6, can you draw through these bubbles? So you inhale deeply from within and exhale through the bubbles out around you. Now you're drawing love that you are from inside, but you're also sending it outside. So when people say being the frequency holder generator, again, you have a choice. Give your power out or keep the power in a relaxed state, aware of your breath. And the third tool I like to add to this is, can you pay attention to the stillness and silence underneath the noise? So let's say that you go on a subway. Let's say that you go in a music festival. I don't care where you are, you can always be aware of your breath, body's awareness, and paying attention to stillness and silence underneath the noise, underneath the sound. And I call it instant presence. So you asked me for a tool, and I tend to sometimes go off a little bit, so I apologize, but this is something I always like to go back to as frequently as possible, because then you can start hearing the inner wisdom, the insights, what actually is, the right or wrong path to take.
That was so powerful. I'm still buzzing. The champagne bubbles they're going. They're doing their thing.
New ways of drinking champagne.
Yeah, right, without the drink.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's so powerful. I think that the emphasis on bringing the power back into yourself as opposed to giving it out, like to our technology, to our phones, is so interesting because it is an addiction. Like I feel it. I feel it when I'm scrolling. I'm like, can't stop scrolling, but like, yes, I can. And like just taking a moment to do this instead, how much more powerful would that be?
Or even, so again, how everything is dichotomy, right? So just like before, we were saying like biohack or not biohack, the same dichotomy is with technology. So again, for the record, I love technology. I love using it. I think it's such an
Yeah.
important piece of our life. But what if the next time that you do scroll, you are aware of your body, you are aware of your breath, and then your phone becomes an extension of you instead of you become the phone? Does that make sense?
Ooh.
So when
Yeah.
you become the phone, you lose yourself in time and you become unconscious. But when you are conscious and aware, and then you're scrolling from a place of, this is my choice, right? This is my free
Yeah.
will. I'm not owned by the algorithms. Now you have the power of free will, right? And so that's, to me, how we can use technology, phones, computers,
Yeah.
safely without it controlling us.
That's so powerful. I will definitely work on that one. I think everyone listening is like, okay, let's try that. My other part to the question is, and thank you for those beautiful tools. They were amazing. So what is the most significant biohacking mechanism that you've used or you've personally done that you think is like something outside of yourself that is the most significant biohack?
Yeah, so it's a series of things with biohacking. So it's really difficult to
Yeah.
put it to one, but I'll tell you what I did to simplify all of this pathway. I have created a model through which you can kind of understand how to organize it and find it
Yeah.
for yourself. And
Okay.
so I have this thing called 4 steps to the journey through self-transformation. Step one is waking up. And so, what I mean by this is you apply this into the most prominent areas of your life. And that could be your physical health, mental health, your relationships, your career. You want to take a solid, couple hours, right? Sit down and just write down, each of the most important, elements of your life, what is serving you and what is not. So, through this, I would essentially then identify, right? Like, let's say that you had a blood work done and you were heavy on environmental toxins, right?
Yeah.
So it will give you a
Well,
data set.
I can give you an example, like a real life example if you
Mhm.
want. Like I'm on a journey right now and I've been taking a lot of functional mushrooms, like in my coffee or in my smoothies or in my whatever. Just been taking a lot of them in my AG1 that I drink, biohacking, right? Turns out I have mold like in my body. It's not from something I'm breathing. I mean, it might be, but it's more from the things I'm consuming, what I'm eating, the mushrooms. I never ever thought that that would create mold. So I have to be on like a lower like mold diet, low histamine diet. So okay, so can you use that as a model? Does it
Fantastic
work?
one.
Okay.
Absolutely. So it's actually amazing because 50+% of our households have mold in them. And then if you think about foods in general or coffee in general, there is mold literally everywhere. And so that's an amazing example. So you wake up, you have a data set, something to work with that is not working, that is not of your highest good, right? That's the most important.
Yes.
The second step is, I call it a cleanup process, which is you got to detox it. You got to let it go. Now, for something like mold, right? So I love using ozone. I'm actually going in an hour. I do weekly ozone blood therapy. And I
Can you
also have a, yep.
explain ozone a little bit more?
Yeah, so it's a O3. It's a molecule that's essentially it's an oxidative therapy. And through oxidation, it helps with it's anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial, toxic. It's really, really good with mold. And also, so I used to have a long history of Epstein-Barr, chronic
Me
fatigue.
too.
Yeah, and so many of us, right? Like the autoimmune issues are such a big piece, to this. And so especially, by the way, things like mold reactivates that, virus.
It
Uh,
lowers the T cells, right? Which are your virus fighting cells.
Yes. And so second stage, right, would be cleaning up. And so, for example, that would be, infrared sauna, right? Exercise. It would be using activated charcoal and bentonite to be able to pull it out before. So there's like a whole regimen that I would, do. But something also simple as, let's say that you continue thinking that you're not enough, or that you can't do this job because you're not qualified enough, or that would be a simple mental paradigm, right, that we have to also clean up, let go. Or let's say that we have a really negative relationship with mother, right? So that is something that we gotta figure out how to fix it, let it go, or
All the
remove
inner work.
ourselves.
Yeah.
Yep. So that way, so once you wake up, clean up, then you power up, and this is
Wait,
when
hold on. One, I have to go back. The first thing you said about the blood, it takes your blood out and it oxygenates it or something?
So there's a different applications.
Okay.
There's a multi-pass ozone, which can be anywhere from 3 to 10 passes, where it pulls the blood out. It then, cleans the blood. It infuses the ozone into your blood, and then you get it back into your body. So that's one form. The
And
other
you think that's totally healthy? Like there's nothing wrong with it at all to do that.
It has saved. I literally have a tattoo of an ozone molecule because it has saved my
Wow.
life, like completely, from depression, from
Wow.
anxiety, from autoimmune. Like it's literally, it's a miracle. I cannot tell you how much I think ozone is such a huge healing modality for our
Okay.
physical health. And also, by the way, you want to, there's so much talking about NAD
Yeah.
in the world, and many people are, starting to take the NAD IVs or precursors and beyond. And ozone actually helps your body produce more of your own NAD. So again, you want to go at the foundational level. It's amazing. And somebody like me or you that have an active Epstein-Barr, or that have a Lyme's disease, you have an instant releases. Like I used to come in with massive anxiety and massive, like, just really feeling like shit,
It-
So,
Yeah.
yeah. And essentially I walked out of there with a smile on my face, like a totally different person. And so it suppresses that overreactive immune system as well. And so yes, ozone, like, is
So
like,
how often are you doing ozone on yourself?
so when I was really bad, I would do it first quite frequently. I mean, multiple times per week. And then
Okay.
I kind of start weaving off into once a week. And then if I travel a lot, I still do it once a week. But then I kind of weave it out to like once or twice a month. So really, once you take charge of your, autoimmune issues, then you just really, again, ask your body, and you kind of dance in, where you at, so it never gets too far. That's for me right now. If it gets too far, then you got to come back, right? It takes multiple weeks to recover.
And I know you travel a lot, so you keep on top of it because of that as well, I'm sure, like you just said. So is it easy to find ozone, and what is the price point on that?
Absolutely. So especially in America, very, very easy. You can just do ozone therapy, near me.
Mhm.
Most integrative doctors have it. It really depends where you live. So like in, Alabama, it's like $150 per ozone IV, but then you go to LA or New York and it can be, $1,000, right?
Wow.
So also just back to the application. So you can either do
Yeah.
multi-pass, you can also do a direct injection, which I don't really have the same experience with, or you can do a ozone in saline IV, and that's the one that I use on a weekly basis. So if I have nothing that's acute, that one is the least. It's not as intense, basically, right? Because like to keep on pulling blood in and out, then you also need heparin
Yeah.
for cleaning your blood. But with this thing, you just get an ozonated IV and liquids, and it's really sustainable. It's
Okay.
also the most affordable one. And if you ever have a chronic pain, if you ever have, inflammation in body, I sometimes get it injected directly into my muscles or joints. And so it works really well that way too. Uh,
Wow.
so yeah, so I have an ozone home. We also do it, you can do it directly, ears, nose, anything but inhaling it. That's the only time ozone can kill you. And we even have an ozonating machine that kills all the mold spores in the air. So once a month, we clear all of our house we ozonate our entire house from all of that as well.
Wow.
So do you see, like, you can use it for anything except for breathing it, then you're not gonna live for too long.
Oh my goodness, that's so interesting.
Hmm.
Okay. So I guess if you could start to Google and research ozone therapy, it'll come up in all these different forms and modalities of being able to use it. That's so interesting. I've never heard of it. So I mean, I've heard of like having your blood taken out, but I haven't like learned more about it. So it's so cool.
Oh, it's literally, especially with mold and Epstein-Barr, like
Yeah.
you're gonna have such an amazing, you're gonna feel
Um,
like flying after. Like it's really
is
crazy.
there any negative side effects to it?
Detox, probably, like if you the first, sometimes you can have a detox reaction if you're not on top of it. But if you're generally, healthy person,
Mm.
it shouldn't be, an issue. Uh, I yeah, I mean, personally, I've just had benefits, but definitely do your research, because
Okay.
I think it's important to do it.
Yeah.
And also the doctors will ask you, and tell you like all of the other, sides to it.
Sure.
It's
Sure.
very, very safe. FDA again, like will tell you otherwise, but
Sure.
that's only because of the breathing part. It's not because the actual, ozone IV.
Right. Wow. Okay. So I know there's like more steps to your 4 parts, but I also want to know like, is there another besides ozone? Like, what's your secondary like go to?
So when it comes to especially overall health, autoimmune stuff, because and anxiety, depression, sleep, like I've
You're
dealt with.
basically speaking to everyone.
It's really insane. Today's world, we all have it. It's just, do we get tested for it? Do we also catch it in the time that it's active, right? Because it like something like Epstein-Barr, you can only have a window when you actually see that it's active versus not. So
Yeah.
you will think that you're going crazy and you don't know, why is that? And so the other one is methylene blue. I
Okay.
take it daily. It was another huge, huge piece of it in between. And but the thing is, though, there's a lot of companies that have a low doses, and that didn't do anything for me. It was really important that I take at least zero point 0.5 to 1 milligram per kilo, and you can go up to 4, but safely, based on the research that has been done. But methylene blue combined with red light
Mm.
photomodulates, which then basically supercharges your mitochondria, your power supplies of your body, and it gives you this beautiful cellular boost and energy. But it's also anti-inflammatory, antimicrobial, anti like it's anti basically everything. It like just cleans up your system and helps you optimize your energy
Mm.
in a day.
Is
And
it
so
like is it a pill or is it a drink?
it comes in a different formats. I like to take it in the little what do you call it? The little squares, the not a lozenger, but
Okay.
yeah,
Something like
it's it. So I use company called Mitozen, and if you want to learn more about it, there is a great book from Dr. Lawrence, Dr. John Lawrence, that is the founder of Mitozen. And he's a great friend of mine, actually, and he's helped me so much. I've used his methylene blue as well as high dose of melatonin for sleep, because again, like the traditional science says, melatonin is bad for you, but then you look at the high doses of melatonin research, and I'm talking about 600 to 800 milligrams, for example, like really high doses. It's a massive antioxidant. It can help you tremendously on the levels that we're dealing with. And so the protocol that I took to heal my body from the autoimmune stuff, it was a colloid silver, it was a methylene blue, it was ozone, and it was a high dose of melatonin. And essentially, would take it every day. Over a period of time, it really I would wake up without anxiety. I would start being able to sleep. And, I also take like magnesium, I take ashwagandha, I take different
Vitamin C.
Yeah, I take vitamin C either through IV or just uptake because of the amount of flights we do. And I also weave in and out. So, I practice something called process of unhooking, where every single day I spend the first hour just with myself. I don't touch the phone. I don't do anything but meditation, breath work, grounding, visualizing the day to come back to who I am. So I don't keep on living somebody else's life, right? Week first. Then once a week, I take full day of digital fast, physical fast, as well as family, friends. The first half of the day, I'm just on my own to revisit where am I. But I also don't take any supplements in that day. So that way the body, again, doesn't get too used to, all of this, right? So it can produce it on its own. Once a month, I take 4 days completely off the same way. And once a year, I take 10 days in darkness. And it's usually a 10 to 15 day, break. And so what I've learned is when I live through these cycles, I never burn out anymore. I am a continuously insane person, right? Like going towards a vision that is coming out of place of balance, not just can have to do and this and that, get lost in our egoic minds. And I got inspired by the female cycle from my wife, where when we start dancing in through these cycles, men have cycles as well, but we don't have the physical reaction to it as women do. And so it's incredible how we're always intertwining. When she's high, I'm low. When I'm low, she's high, and then we sync up within this balance. And again, that's a free hack,
That's so powerful. I feel like there's a whole other episode on the men's cycles. Like, I'm so curious about that. Wow. Okay, this is so amazing. I'm so glad you shared all of the things that have helped you heal, which I'm assuming is why you got into biohacking anyway, because you were sick, you weren't well. Yeah.
Literally, yeah. So I used to be professional cyclist. I used to ride bikes all over the world, and I also was an early entrepreneur. And so instead of me recovering, I would be spending time on calls with my e-commerce business at that time. And essentially, I collapsed in a Czech national race, and I woke up in a hospital only to realize that like I can't do both, and I had to shave off this, idealism of being a professional athlete and moved fully into business. But I had to figure out how to heal myself, and so that's when I discovered biohacking and personalized health and Chinese medicine, and it's a combo of everything. And just to go back to the 4 stages, we went through it without even knowing it. So wake up, right, was the bring things up to the surface. Clean up, right, is to get rid of the things that don't work, so we can have room and space for the new things.
I feel like that's where I'm personally am right now. I'm on the cleanup stage. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And one thing you will also see is it happens in a micro and macro cycles. So there's a small mini things that we do constantly, right? like self-talk, right? Like we might have a really negative mind, we like bring it up to the surface. It's almost like a framework of how to release it and upgrade it, right?
Yeah.
But also we have a big cycles that we go through, which could be like, our life purpose, right? Our husband, wife, right? Something that's on like a much longer
Yeah.
but so once you clean up, then you power up. And this is when you start bringing the new things in. And so this is what I was saying is we've already discussed it, right? So when you have an issue with mold, for example, or Epstein-Barr, this is when you start supplementing all the good stuff, right? So you use ozone, you use methylene blue, you look at the alternative stuff. Because the power up stage is when you go into offense, right? This is when you take the driver's seat back
Oh,
in
I
your hand.
love that.
And this is the exciting
Offense.
part, right? The moving force behind you that's moving to the new person. And here's the fun part is I used to, wanted to be the old person and also the new person. But what happened was, NOA Aeon, which is why I named the company this way. NOA means movement, Aeon is all or none, but it symbolizes duality or ping pong, highs and lows and good days
Yeah.
and bad days. And I would be living in this duality until I realized there is another way. And that's in the middle. That's the harmony, health, happiness. And so once you power up, then you rest up. And what I mean by this, it's the integration, but also the process of unhooking, which we've also, discussed. This is that time you take the pauses to reevaluate. How am I doing? What am I doing? What do I want? And so
Yeah.
then you can hear that again, inner wisdom.
I feel like this is just it's so powerful. It's everybody should be doing this. I don't care if you're like do it when you're not sick because that's when you're gonna really be able to be on offense more than any other, any other part. But it all serves a purpose, of course. Wow. Okay. I have so many questions, but I'm gonna try and condense. So as you started to heal, is that when you started to get into like this teaching, or were you teaching before that? Like, did you develop your leader, like your teacher, this spiritual guide that you are, like in throughout the process? Because I feel like it's
So
interesting how like you go through something so intense, like you literally shed an identity that you were, like people don't really like they hear stories and they're like, oh wow, but really get that like you were a professional athlete and you woke up in a hospital and your whole life changed and you had all these things you had to work through. And here you are now, like doing this beautiful work, teaching people, guiding people in this whole new way. I mean, it's really remarkable. And like, I think it's easy to like have that like wash over people and like hear stories so often, but it's really powerful. And like, there's a lot there.
thank you. Thank you so much. And yeah, I've been fortunate to live multiple lives up until this time. I think because of the amount of inner calling, I've always had these voices inside of me saying, is this society that we're living in it? Are we supposed to be packaged into this box and just, follow being a good citizen, being a good Christian, or whatever even that means?
Yeah.
And we don't realize how impacted we are by these, norms and thoughts, whatever it's from families and governments and institutions. And so for me, from young age, I grew up with shaman. My mother was really the spiritual instigator in the early stages that was also really open and receptive to learning. And I was 12 years old going into yoga class, and I remember it was all women. I was the only boy in the classes, and
Yeah.
I thought, like, what am I doing, mom? Like, this just feels really awkward. And now I would appreciate it, right? So they're different now. And so it was an interesting thing. Now, throughout my life, I never even finished high school. I started my first company when I was 17 years old, and
Wow.
I paid my friend to go online and say that it's me, and to finish high school for me, just
Wow.
so my dad gets a diploma and is satisfied. I've never even seen my diploma. I just shipped it to his house.
Oh my
And
God.
But yet at the same time, if I tell you the amount of, I've probably read over 1,000 books. I've been to so many courses and self-help development workshops, retreats, and that's what really was that inner call. I was trying to answer it, right? Like there is more, there is more. So
Yes.
then what I did, I was like, as an entrepreneur, I committed myself that, every 3 months, I'm going to do something ridiculous, something out of comfort zone that's going to remember, who I am, not at what I'm doing and what I have, but who am I actually, here for this world. And so this led me, around the world. I've done samurai camp in Japan. I spent
Wow.
month with the psychics in Brazil. I have, trained under Wim Hof for a year. And it really wasn't until the dark room, the first time 8 years ago, that I went into, Thailand, this dark cave with Jas Muhin, who became my mentor and teacher. She's an amazing power woman that I became ambassador of peace through because of the teachings and lessons she is bringing to this world. And she's a breatharian. She's solely nourished by prana. She doesn't require to eat any
No
physical.
way. No
It's
way.
it's really
I've heard
crazy.
about these people, but I've never like gotten this for real. There's
Yes.
no water.
No food for the past 25 years. She drinks sometimes water, and she says that so the biggest thing to understand with this is that it's the freedom of not eating for calories or drinking for survival that you obtain through coming and turning back inward. And so, most of the teaching that I teach is basically a alternative way how to get there without going through this. But it happens naturally when you're ready, when your lifestyle aligns, because it's all about how you spend your time. So if you're consistently, spending your time through worries and fears and doings, you're gonna need a lot of dense food. But I'll give you example how you have 100% had this experience before. Think about a moment when you lost yourself in time. I don't know what you love, if it's music, art, dance, maybe.
Music, dance. Yeah.
So imagine if you've ever had a good song, good music, or you were in a process of teaching, creating.
Yeah.
Whenever you lose yourself in time, you forget about food. You don't
Right.
really have the urge or need to eat. You will do anything but to keep on fueling that excitement about life, that joy, that happiness. And we have all of this inside of us, but because we spend so much time on things we don't even give a fuck about, this is why like the process of unhooking is so important, to do things that you have chosen to do, not because you have to do. Then you start opening yourself up to these deeper concepts, these deeper things that are already there. And so through this traveling and going through these experiences, 8 years ago, I basically walked out of the dark room and I decided to start selling everything. I used to own Orange Theory fitness locations.
Wow.
And I was an area developer for about 7 regions with almost 100 locations. And it was a crazy success, right? Like I joined them when there was only 6 locations, and now it's over 2,000. And essentially, when I walked out, within 3 years, I lost everything. So from making millions of dollars, I came into a conclusion that I want to live in service. And I start hating money, and I start feeling that, why do I have to be the privileged person and then others, have to be under me? Like, that just feels so weird as a concept.
Mm-hmm.
And so, well, guess what happened? I got what I start projecting,
You hated money away.
and I hated money away. And I went into this whole other side, which also happens for a lot of people. We kind of go into the soul searching, like, why would I even do life? And
Yeah,
and and
I've
I
been
went
there.
into such an extreme, right? Like from total money, entrepreneur, business, all the way into just spiritual, don't care for this, want to be a hippie. And
Right. Like, what is my relevance here?
what is even this, right? And
Yeah.
but then, just like we need to go and understand these different, concepts and aspects, right? Through this, I finally integrated. And so, to answer your question, like, how did I get through here? It was a massive washing machine of what I thought that I was. And, I got divorced. I lost so many partnerships. I lost all my money. I woke up one day with all of my accounts frozen. And there were days I had to fast because my kids wouldn't have enough food. That's how bad it was from, flying private jets. And so it was
Right.
such a crazy, dichotomy. But I couldn't be more grateful because it brought the reality, humbleness, and understanding both sides of the spectrum, and understanding that neither side made me happier or less. The only difference is the comfort, right? That money gives
Sure.
us. But past that, it's about what type of gifts we want to exchange with the world. What type of gifts do we want to exchange with one another? And this is why things that you do, such as podcasts, education, is so important, because you are sharing gifts, wisdom with other people that will then get inspired and share it with others, that will then create this collective construct of highly vibrant beings in their
Yes.
power.
Yeah, we can't do it alone. We need each other's gifts to share with the world, to help wake up the people in our lives, the people that we're here to serve, to like really understand who they are and who they came here to be. Because I had that download the other day about how literally everybody, like the cashier at the supermarket, has all these gifts inside of them that they are so dormant to. Like they have no idea that they're there, and they're just going on autopilot through the motions. And I feel like if we all woke up to that part of ourselves, we could help each other wake up to those parts of ourselves, you know?
Those are some of my most favorite things to do, and maybe again, a takeaway for anybody listening. See if you can, next time you go into a grocery store and you see, sometimes my favorite ones are the ones that are, really stern, right? Like they
Yeah.
vividly don't have a good day. And then by the time it's your turn, just send them love. First love yourself, right? Like it could be as simple as I love you, I love you, I love you, my body, myself, my life, just bring up gratitude that is within, that is not coming from outside. And then just start through your heart. Imagine this river of love flowing into that person. And then you can even say to yourself, I like to say, please connect me as the essence inside of me and an essence inside of that other person, on the essence level, right? On the baseline of who we are at our divine love, right? At the baseline level. And then just start without any reward, without anything, just holding this beautiful, river of love. And by the time, you get to that cashier, by the time you get to the person, most of the time they're changed, they're different. All of a sudden, like that person they were to the past customer, has shifted. And this
Yeah.
is why, what you damns you back, and what you love loves you back. It's the golden circle of a feedback we're living in. And so that's why, like, you always have, again, the choice, right? Are you going to bound into fear, into pain, into suffering, or whatever that person is projecting? Or are you
Yeah.
going to hold of what you are at the highest level for others? And this is how we can wake up masses, not through teaching the masses, but through being inside
Being.
who you are. And then it automatically, grants to the masses. And I love doing this, especially on the planes. Anytime I fly, I say I'm essence through this plane. I'm essence through this flight. I essence is just a simple coding that I like to use. And then I love just like sending the river of love all around me. Or you can imagine like a web of love that we're all
Yeah.
part of. And especially if you close your eyes, then all you see is space, right? And all separates us is space or air. That's really it, right? If we didn't have any
Yeah.
eyes, you wouldn't see any.
Right. Any anything.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
Wow.
this is my favorite way to just seeing and learning from the eyes of wonder in every situation.
That's so powerful and so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. It's such a beautiful practice. I'm definitely going to take that on. I always like to, in my way, in my Ashley way, I'm always like radiating, trying to radiate, like just emanating that love frequency, that good energy, and just, as simple as like, how are you today? And like genuinely just like smiling and like sharing that energy with someone. It always lights me up to do that as well. So I love that. Um, so for someone listening that is like very, intrigued by everything that you're saying, but has no idea where to start, has no idea like what to connect to first, what would be your tool for them in that wake up process of like, because I feel like there's so many things like someone might be listening and be like, oh, I got to go get ozone, but I'm sure it's good for everyone, but there's some things that maybe aren't good for everyone, like the functional mushrooms, not great for me right now. And yet I was like self-directing that in the moment. So like people, where can they start with all of it?
So I would do a self-assessment, number one. And
Yeah.
so, that's the wake up process. And
Right.
so wherever you are right now, let's just quickly go through this. So when I say self-assessment, without having any tracking just yet, just do 0 to 10. 10, you're freaking crushing it. 0, you need quite a bit of work.
Yeah.
And first thing first, just, if you're not driving and you can meditate on this, you can close your eyes at home. And simply, you can visualize a mirror in front of you. I like working with mirror or a physical mirror, just like actually, use a mirror. And then first assess your physical body health. So on a generic basis, right? It's a temple, the body, the me, part of you, the individual consciousness, without which, if the body's not well, right? How are we going to see happiness and feel happy, right? If the brain chemistry is not giving us happy chemicals. So
Yes.
ask yourself, how's my sleep? How's my energy? How's my brain performance? How do I feel after exercise? Do I get tired after my lunch? Whatever these thoughts are, just give yourself intuitive 0 to 10 on your physical body health. Then after that number, let's go into the mental body health. Now, what I mean by mind, right? So it's a tool. It's or some people call it ego, small self. It matters not what we call it. It's something that we need for survival, but something that should be working for us, not against us. Now, if you have an overthinking, over-analyzing mind, it means you're spending a lot of times in the beta brain waves, which is that active monkey brain. And
Yes.
so ask yourself, how are my thoughts? 0 to 10. Am I feeling positive about life, about me, about another? Or does it have a work? Now, by the way, a little insert to this. Every time I have a negative thought about myself or about another, I treat thoughts as apps on your phone. So when you have a negative app that you don't want to use anymore, you delete it, right? You don't use it.
Yeah.
And so the same thing is with thoughts. 95% of our thoughts keep on repeating. And it's up to us to shine the light to the ones we don't want to keep on repeating because we want to re-see them anew, right? Into a greater, expression. So what I would do is I just write them down. I scratch the sentence and then I rewrite the sentence until I start thinking that about myself or about another. Now,
You
what a
still do
rocket
this
science.
process? Do you still do this like even to this day?
Not so much anymore. It was a healing process for about
Yeah.
2 years. Now I just do it mentally.
Yes.
So now I just do it in like a real life.
Yep.
But people, more aware you become, it will start being actually easier and easier. You will have to do less. But I know, especially when you're looking for early process, like meditate on this. So even if first process of change is bring the awareness to it, right? So even if
Totally.
you just acknowledge it, you're moving somewhere, right? Not being
Yeah.
stagnant.
I
So
love
so yeah, so that's the mental body, 0 to 10. Then let's look at your emotions. Emotional body is really, really important. Just like we feed our mental body with a healthy information, podcast, education, healthy body, right? Physical body with healthy foods. The same way our emotions, the way we fuel emotions is when we spend time in timelessness. So this
Mm,
is kind of when, if you do art, If you haven't created stuff for a while, I like to have at least 1 hour a day on fun things. For me, it's creating music and dance, and I like to get myself lost in that. Because then, to be emotional means that we're not paying attention to something. We're not paying attention to our thoughts. And so we can recalibrate our emotions through this, and obviously chemically as well. But ask yourself, do I feel love? Do I feel joy? Or do I feel a lot of guilt and fear and sorrow and pain? And give yourself a 0 to 10 emotional body health, now.
Interesting you say that. Really. Okay. Sorry, I don't want to
Please
interrupt
go
you.
ahead.
Okay.
No, no.
Lately, I've been feeling like things are moving so fast that I actually am not feeling much. And I don't know where that would fall on the scale. Probably not at the not at the strongest. But it's interesting because the other day I was able to like finally like cry, but I was like feeling locked out of gratitude, feeling locked out of love, like feeling locked out of the things that I want to be feeling. It's really interesting. So
Yeah.
there's that too to pay attention to, because sometimes I feel like almost like the technology or your work can zap us of what we really are doing the work for in the first place,
Yes, that's all of the different, also ego tactics. But also don't forget, we were operating on like a greater scale of, there's the 3 levels of how we operate. There's the me, the individual self.
Yeah.
There's the we, the collective, right? What we're going through as a collective. But then there is also a supra collective. I call it the be. So me, we, be is a model that I teach. And the B is also, we're connected to the entirety of all universes, metaverses, whatever, all the different dimensions we can't even comprehend. But so it is really important to understand that not everything is coming necessarily from you. And then it's just the acknowledgement and spending time to really identify that. But also our emotions there's a hierarchy of emotional freedom. And essentially, any emotions generally go through this step. So the lowest state of emotions is apathy. This is when we don't care and we don't feel anymore. This could be towards someone, this could be towards life, it could be again in a different micro cycles. Then you've got sadness, that's one level up. So that's when you start feeling a little bit, you start actually feeling something, right?
Yeah.
Then there is anger. This is when we got to get a little angry to push this thing out. Then it goes into general fear, because ultimately, what's holding us back is, what are we scared of, right? Are we scared of love a lot of times, right? To love ourselves and love another. So that way we can move all the way up to joy and happiness, which is the highest level of, emotional freedom, which is why we came here, by the way, to experience
And
and
express.
and express. Yeah, like I used to only mostly learn through the gutter. If it wasn't hard, if it wasn't painful, wasn't regimented, it wasn't a good enough lesson. But now I get to learn through love, and I never thought that was possible. And I learned that through my relationships, through business, through experiences. But it took that time to really notice, and follow the hardships, right? You follow those things that feel hard first, so life becomes easy. And so the emotions, right? I love that we spend so much time, because most of the time people are so focused, especially in biohacking, on the mental, physical, right? We're getting some mental, but like the mental is a lot of times a justified ego as to, what we discuss with the tactics. But the emotions is the real true ways of creation. It's a superpower that honestly mostly women understand. The emotions have been so taken away from men. It's been viewed as a weakness, and men have to understand like how to also feel, right? And so many times when you get men feeling, it's actually the most beautiful thing, because now, right, it's and it's this balance that we're starting to cultivate. So 0 to 10 emotions. The fourth part of the me and assessment, just so we really back with people, is the spiritual connection, or some people call it higher self. I like to call it the original source vibration that gives us life, right? When we're born, that gives us the first ha. And then that goes back into oneness or extracts itself when we die in the physical form. Now, there is no death, right? That's really important to understand too. There is just a new form of evolution. There's nothing to be scared of death. If anything, it's such a blessing because we don't have this density anymore. And essentially, this unified realms speaks to us through four different primal ways. It's something I've learned in Brazil through the psychic training. And what they taught me is we've got 5 physical senses and we've got 4 psychic senses or spiritual gifts. And the 5 senses that we traditionally know get us in trouble a lot of times. That's the instant gratification. That's the, seeking pleasure and whatsoever. And then the 4 psychic senses have always our back. So that's always for our greatest good. Now, sense number 1 is your inner hearing. Those are whispers that everybody has, but we're not taught how to, understand that. And this could be a whisper telling you, start working out, quit watching Netflix at night, maybe, read a book instead. And the way we strengthen this is we start acknowledging it. So we simply state, thank you, I heard that. And then the magic power is what you're going to do about that. Because when you start following this, and this happened to me, I never trusted this at first. Again, I came in there as an entrepreneur, not as a spiritual teacher or anything like that. But I always was with an open heart and open mind. I followed exactly what they taught me. And then I start accelerating through my own practice. And essentially, that voice gets louder and louder until it integrates with the egoic voice. So now they work in tandem. So that's your inner hearing. Then you've got your inner seeing. This is the visionaries of the world or people that can see colors. This usually happens in lucid dreaming or people that can, if you're an entrepreneur, right, you see a business plan a year from now, it comes through in, direct concept. Or impressions. And same thing, you acknowledge it and you follow it to strengthen it. Then you've got your inner feeling. This is the empaths of the world. And to give you an example, if you've ever gone to a room that there was a fight, something didn't feel right, but you couldn't really explain, why. Or you had a bad feeling about a partner or person, right? It was in your body, in your bones.
Or you go to like an Airbnb that you rented and you're like, whoa, the energy in here is off.
Yes. And so we're using all of them all the time. This is how we communicate with the energy aspect of us. But again, it's like, how do we build that trust? We trust more our mailmen than we trust our divine, inherited belief system. And so same thing. Thank you. I felt that. What you gonna do about that? And then the other one is, the last one is your inner knowing or intuition. And the way you discern this is when you think, you don't know. When you know, you don't require to think. So this is when you knew you shouldn't have gone to the party. You knew that that person was cheating on you. Every part of your bone just knew it, didn't require any thinking. And, again, you were having it, we're having it, we're all experiencing this.
Wait, say that again. Say it again. So it's just one more time.
When you think, you don't know. When you know, you don't require to think.
But then the doubt, but then the doubt creeps in and you're like, wait, do I know that? And
this is why this is the hardest one to discern, because of our ego has an agenda, right, to follow until it becomes more integrated. But I always say follow the 1 or 2 that you feel the strongest at, and then just like a muscles in a gym, you develop this relationship. And so to close this within the spirit, right? So give yourself 0 to 10. How connected do you feel to this inner wisdom? How much time do you spend, right, through meditation? How do you feel spiritually? Again, 0 to 10. Now, I know I've been going for a while. So to make this simple, the other part is the we, the collective, and that is the quality of your relationships. So basically 0 to 10, give yourself a number. I like to just imagine, 5 to 10 of the people I spend the most time with. And I
Yeah.
like literally, I would close my eyes and I like look one by one and I'm like, okay, how do we improve this? What do I do well? What do I want to get better? How can I connect better? And this is when you release relationships that don't work for you, because why would you ever reflect something other than the greatest good
Yeah.
for one another?
Yeah. Yeah.
And obviously, I always try to fix it first, right? In a ways of like, how do we communicate? How do we lift it? But if it's not liftable, also not all relationships are meant to be lived for the rest of our lives, right? Like we also can just move on.
Yeah.
So that's the first part of the we, the collective. The second part is your environment. So give yourself 0 to 10. What is the quality of your air, quality of your water, quality of your
Yeah.
food, quality of what you're wearing? If we're wearing toxic materials, skin is the biggest organ, right? So you might be so healthy, but then you're totally wearing something that's messing with your skin, your body.
Yeah.
And so give yourself, again, 0 to 10 on.
Even what you're sleeping on, right? Like organic mattresses, organic bedding, all of that could be very toxic as well.
This is also where EMF comes into place. I
Oh,
used
I
to.
was going to ask you about this. Yes. Go.
Yeah, no. So, I used to never believe it until I lived in Houston for a period of time when COVID was happening. And during the shutdown, they released 5G towers.
Yep.
And I started having the same, depression, the same lack of sleep, the same problems that I had, originally on my autoimmune, part of my life, right? The
Yeah.
Epstein Barr. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, I'm literally doing everything right. Like, where is this coming from?
Right.
And so then I started doing research, and I looked outside my window, and there was a 5G tower only 200 feet away from where I was sleeping.
Wow.
And then I'm like, intuitively, I start looking into this, and I found over 6,000 studies proving that it's detrimental to our health that are non-industry funded. So that's really important to keyword here, because the industry funded stuff, even on Google, tells you that there's no problem with EMFs. And yet we've known since the time of Hitler that frequencies has been used to do many different harmful things to our ecosystem. Now, so with a long story short, we've created a webinar. So if anybody wants to learn about EMFs in general, it's a free webinar that we went online, and we just wanted to give people the actual truth about what we're learning. So it's not made by a doctor, it's not made by scientists, it's just made by a human that had a sensitivity to it and wanted to fix it. So check that out. We can add it to the
Do you
comment.
sell EMF products?
So I went on a hunt around the world, and I bought every single product that there was, and most of it didn't work. Most of it didn't do anything until I came across something called Key Technologies, or Key Shield, and it works on a depolarization. And so what that means is it actually renaturalizes the harmful effects of EMFs in your space, so that way you can live in more natural environment. And again, it's like, how do we live with technology, not against it or without it?
Right.
And I found this because it doesn't require any outlets, any more power.
Sneezing
And
on the truth.
yes. And so I travel with it everywhere now. We ended up becoming their master distributors, because more people needed to hear about this. I got into this completely by accident, by feeling really, really badly, and then I think, as the entrepreneur inside of me, wants to figure out how to, get it out to the world. So now we have a personalized devices, we have a harmonizing devices, and we have a depolarization devices on our website. And by the way, our whole culture works, company culture works. We do everything through giving education, giving why. So we have a 15-minute free consultation with EMF expert that you can tell what your size of your home is. They'll literally tell you how to mitigate for free. So if you have no means to do it, then it's like, how do you get as close as possible? And then if you have the means, then we also can give you the right information that we use. And that's kind of how it works.
That is amazing, because that's the first question I ask myself is like, how do I know what I need for my house, for my area, for where I live? Yeah, that's fucking incredible. Incredible. So on that note, do you use AirPods?
I don't. So
Oh,
so a little bit about EMF. Bluetooth is harmful. It is not good around our brain. So generic stuff, anything smart, whatever it's appliances, whatever it's smart homes, whatever it's electric cars, anything that emits EMFs is not good for us and not good for our environment. So
electric cars do that as well?
oh my gosh. So in our webinar, we actually show meter with Tesla charging, and we show the numbers are so high. And it's exactly where if you have a child that's in the back seat, that's where it's the
Yeah.
worst. And by the way,
Oh,
children have zero safety limit when it comes to EMFs because their skulls are so tiny.
yeah.
And so literally, like for example, in Australia, they banned Wi-Fi from schools, France as well. Or in China, they make pregnant women wear a EMF shielding belt because, we keep on shitting on China, but like
Yeah.
China freaking thinks more of their women and their kids than any other country in the world.
Wow. 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 I mean, I'm sure like you have a baby. I'm sure you don't have like the Wi-Fi camera in the room.
Oh, so that's another one. There are some that are lower capacity. We
Yeah.
did find that through our research, but most of them have a super high, like way over the limit for adult, not even for children. 9 out of 10 cell phones are way over. We're using outdated regulations from 90s that are based on Motorola that was 2 or 4 inches apart from our belt, when we were wearing it
Yeah.
like clipped in. So by the way, distance is the first key to a free mitigation. So further apart it is, then better. We know that
Yeah.
based on all the measures.
Something that like rings in my head every time I have my phone and I'm like this is like how close it is to my chest. I think about that like all the time. And my head,
Yeah.
but
Well,
yeah.
and also so like never have it by your ear. Always if
Yeah.
you don't have put it on a speaker so and speak to
Yeah.
it from a distance. I use these covers. So I have a my iPhone is covered. I use a little bit of a biogeometry as well as a defender shield. We have these for phones, computers, tablets. So if you do have a kids on your tablet, have it protected because it will literally
Yeah.
shield it from their body. Um,
True.
Instead of a regular headphones, I use we have these headphones that have a bubbles in between them, so it protects you from EMFs.
Okay.
And the best way to measure this, by the way, like if somebody's thinking like we're going nuts and crazy, I actually used to think it was nuts and crazy what I'm doing now, but then
Yeah.
you can literally see it with when you measure it, and you can measure it with something like Aura Ring or HRV. Your HRV is lower, your stress is higher, your deep sleep is worse. Then
I'm having the worst time sleeping lately. And it's probably a mixture between that and Epstein-Barr, but yeah, it's wild.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
the Aura Ring is not Bluetooth. It doesn't affect you like that.
So you have a setting that it will only load it a couple times per day, or you can do
Okay.
it manually. So that's what I highly suggest. And also, so for example, there is a very small, like there's a limit on Bluetooth that is okay that your body can take. So remember, with EMFs, it's similar to toxins, right? So like you load your body with enough toxins and something bursts. Well, same thing with EMF. So let's say that you live in New York, and you're quite close. You can go to this interesting website. It's called antennasearch.com. And antennasearch.com will tell you how many satellites, how many basically how many towers are around you. And I forget exactly the numbers, but I think New York City in a 3 mile, there was like 7,000+ towers in a 3 mile radius versus, something like, a countryside would be, under 100. And so this is why like bigger the city, more EMFs, more exposure, then harder it is on your body because our DNA can only repair so much every day. And this is why then it goes into, your sleep. Then your sleep translates into recovery. Recovery translates into how do we fight with, autoimmune issues, right? So it's like an escalation of things.
Oh, it pisses me off. It really does. Is there anything that you take for EMF besides obviously like having these devices that like help, reformulate the air and stuff?
I take a walk on Earth. So
Yes.
essentially, it's super simple. So earthing, again, it's been proven forever, right? We've never actually, up until the last 100 years, had a disconnection from Earth as we have today. So the way you can discharge this is you walk on grass. You go into a water, ocean, or whatever you have handy next to you. And this is a free way to help your body discharge the excessive EMFs out of your system.
Wow. That's so helpful to know. And like to know how effective that is. I mean, I live by the beach, so that should be good. I should do that.
Amazing. Yes.
Yeah.
And by the way, it doesn't have to be, hour long, like 5-10 minutes. It's part of a lifestyle I teach. I call it the 8-point luscious lifestyle. And once a day, you spend even just 10 minutes in silence and nature. That's all you need. And maybe it's the sunrise, sunset, that's a great benefit because of the light therapy as well. But besides that, just non-negotiable, right? Once a day, you do that, and I did it right before our call. Actually, I was literally walking barefoot through my little forest here.
Love that. I it's interesting and mind-blowing to me how it really is so simple. Like the remedies are so simple, but we overcomplicate everything.
Right, it's again, right? Like we can go out there and buy all these tools, right? Or we start with the foundation, and that's just silence, nature, or silence and journal, right? Like you can wake up every morning and you can do nothing but be yourself. And that's, by the way, easier than to keep on being somebody that you're not.
So much easier. So much easier. Okay, wait, I'm looking at this website and
Put your zip code in.
What'd you say?
Put your zip code in, just so you know.
I did. 12 towers and 85 antennas within 3-mile radius of where I live.
12 or 1200?
12.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you're actually living in an amazing area, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe the water helps. Like
This totally makes sense. So wow, this is really good for compared to literally 90% of people living in cities.
okay, that's good. I live like right in here.
Nice. What an amazing environment, by the way. Like you've got ocean, water,
Yeah, we have
really
bays, we have
awesome.
water. Yeah, it's like the west coast of the east coast over here.
Nice,
Okay,
nice.
well, this makes me feel better about where I
Wow,
live.
yeah. So when it comes to like your, EMF, so then you also want to think about your neighbors, right? So like neighboring Wi-Fi's, because that's something,
Yeah.
especially if people live in apartment complexes, or if you
Mm,
work all day in an office, right? Like I like think of like, go to Times Square, right? And go
yeah.
into any of these office buildings. Like imagine the amount of computers, Wi-Fi's, routers. I mean, it's just you're literally like poisoning yourself. And on
Yes.
top, you like live, I don't know, or you're working for some major financial institution, right? Like it's like sucking your soul out, and that's something.
Literally.
Yeah.
But I mean, when we're in New York and I pass by an Apple store, I'm like thinking about the employees that work at the Apple store and all the EMFs.
Well, and also, iPhone, if you go into your settings, it literally
Yeah.
tells you that it not to put your iPhone on your ear because it's harmful and dangerous for your health, that it causes cancer. It literally tells you in your settings. And so even the telephone companies, they know all of this,
They know
but
all of this.
they know
And like
people.
they
Yeah.
could probably make more money if they put one of your devices on their phone and like sold it that way, you know?
Right? Like instead
Seriously.
of changing chargers every other day and like add a new product.
Add a new product. Yeah. It's interesting because my cousin, she lives around the corner. I don't know her usage on like her devices and whatnot, but she just found that she had a lesion on her brain. And she just went in, they didn't know what it was. And they did a scan, no cancer on the rest of her body. They go in, they took out the lesion. It was
Mhm.
like eating away at her skull. And thank God it's not cancer. But to me, that is, I was like, that's EMF. Like it has to be because it doesn't make sense. Why would it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Things that
Yeah.
just don't make sense, you have to like look outside the box a little, you know?
100%. And it's also interesting like the amount of deception, that we're living in, like more and more
Oh,
like, I'm discovering is just like the constructs of things that have been put in place before us, because
mhm.
we go in and we collectively agree to, let's say, a highway be called highway, right? But like every hundred or every few hundred years, every single thing that we call a certain way gets changed, right? Like the vocabulary gets changed, the belief system gets changed, the things we thought were ridiculous 100 years ago are no longer ridiculous now. And
Yep.
so it just like I've been on this hunt to just keep on looking in further and further into the reasons why I'm doing certain things. Is it coming from
Yes.
me or is it coming from somebody else's belief?
I
And then more and
100%.
more and more you stop being on an autopilot, more and more you're triggering and altering your life to this new potential.
100%. 100%. And like that kind of, I think about that too now that I'm thinking about the mushroom thing. I know that functional mushrooms are like very popular. And also, if you notice, everyone, they're being like greatly marketed to us, So it's like whatever is being like super marketed, you have to kind of take a step back. That's what I've been doing now and unhook myself from that and ask myself, well, okay, let me dig into this a little bit more. Let me get curious about this. Even like there was something else that was, anything the masses are doing since COVID times, right? Pay attention to. Don't always follow like a sheep. We're
Yeah.
un we're unsheeping ourselves as a consciousness. Oh my gosh, this has been so amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your heart with us, your wisdom, your insight. I appreciate you so much. And I think everyone listening is like, there's a lot of work to do. So don't just listen to this episode, like really do some of these practices that Pavel shared and look within yourself and keep it simple. Keep it really, really simple. Um, I have to ask you because I ask everyone this, and you had mentioned it before. You said you focus on your vision. Like, what is your vision right now? Where are you headed? What are you manifesting right now?
So I look at it more from a dream perspective. So I have a certain amount of like dreams, which by the way, we forget to dream in general. So one of my constant set of tools I like to re-dream, so to speak.
Yeah.
And so, one of my like long-term dreams is I would love to be part of this I call it Earth 2.0 or the golden, bringing the golden age on Earth with others. And so my literally dream and mission is to unify the world one person at a time through
Mm,
these tools and through these experiences. And not coming from a place of like that I am doing this, but there's such a huge piece of us doing this.
yeah.
And so that's a big dream of mine. I also, the short-term kind of like a dreams that we have is we are working on a teacher training for others to be able to teach what we're doing and then
Love it.
and supporting them in their places and opening up physical locations. I call it the modern churches where people can get a community buzz without any religion, without anything but self-governing
Breath
education.
work, meditation, consciousness. Yeah. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
and also we're working on a tool to measure this. So in a group, so we have this headband that we are releasing shortly to help people know when we hit group coherence, to know when
Mm,
we are not in group coherence and beyond. It will give you instant feedback so you can trust your divinity essentially until kind of like a heart rate until you know what the zones are and what, high feels and low feels. So then you can exit out
I
of
think
it.
I saw that. I think I saw that on your page. That looked amazing. I was like, what is this? That's incredible. Wow. Sign me up for all the things, how I can help grow the vision. I'm here for it. I'm so here for it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. So how can everyone work with you? In what capacity do you work with people right now?
Yeah, so we have a digital library. So with this recording, in the bio, we'll give you a free on-demand access, and so that gives you any of our breathwork meditation. We even have a guided aesthetic dance from your home, which you can use music as a way of alchemy. We also have courses. So if anybody wants to dive into interactive learning, no long lectures, but actually embodiment tools,
Yes.
that's on our website. We do over 100 events a year all across the world. So from immersive breath, dance, meditation activations, all the way to lectures, retreats, workshops. We teach at most of the main, conferences, summits, and beyond. And then we also have a conscious e-commerce, which is all about consciousness expansion tools, such as, light therapy, vibroacoustics, as well as the EMF protectors. And so that's kind of how we navigate. I do work 101, just with only 5 people per month, and it's a bit difficult to get this one. But if you feel called to work that way, we always release the space as it goes.
Amazing. Wow. I was going to ask you about the light therapy, so I'm glad that it's on your website because that's something that I want to invest in because I don't have that yet. So yeah, you're a big believer in that.
Huge. Light therapy has been proven since the 30s, and it can make the same benefits as like psychedelic therapy without using psychedelics. It also brings neuroplastic changes to your brain, and you can also create new neurons, new pathways. And so imagine that you put your brain through a quick stress, right? In a short stress, just like an ice bath, right? Would be for the physical body. Similar thing called harmonious, right? Like a healthy amount of stress that will make your brain work harder and develop all of these neuroplastic changes in a very short period of time. So I wake up every morning and I do this breath light meditation, and we teach for all of these products too. So we have our guided breathworks in there, and it's a great way to start the day.
So powerful. Thank you so much. There's so much to dive into. So where can everyone start their journey with you? I would say, what is your Instagram and what is your website? Would you share that?
Yeah, so it's NOA Aeon, NOAAON.com. And same thing for Instagram or social media is NOA Aeon Official. And we give a whole bunch of free value there. But the best way to start, if I can actually ask you something to do, commit the next 30 days that you spend the first half an hour to an hour of your day with yourself. And maybe you play one of our recordings, maybe you don't. It really matters not, as long as you commit to yourself that you, before you do anything, anyone else, it starts with you.
Starts with me. That's so powerful. I commit. I'm doing it. I'm doing it. And listen, you have a baby, you have kids, like it's inspiring for you to hear you say, like, you do this, you carve out that time, you find that time. Like, it is doable. So thank you for that inspiration as well.
Absolutely.
Amazing. Everyone go follow Pavel, go follow him. We're going to link everything in the show notes, the free webinar, everything that you need that we mentioned in this episode. You're awesome. Thank you. Woo! We did some work today. Thank you so much for listening. You know I love my BAM fam. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with someone who you know would love it too, because we live for the ripple effect over here. And how can you best support the show? Make sure you're subscribed, hit the 5 stars, and leave a review on iTunes, and let me know how the podcast has impacted you. I love being part of your real-time journey, so screenshot the episode and tag me and my guests on Instagram at ManifestWithAsh. Now say it with me. I am my own power source. I am the master of my own energy, and I deserve everything that I desire. We don't just talk about it over here, we be about it. Now go get them.